So today we're going to be taking a look at Mara Jade. Now we know her from the expanded universe, and we know that her story is sort of inextricably linked to Luke Skywalker and the life he builds after Return of the Jedi, really. So I want to talk today about why this figure is a must-have for your Black Series collection. Let's take a look now. So today we're taking a look at a Mara Jade figure from the Star Wars Black Series range, but it is a slightly different style, and from what I remember of our Dr. Aphra review, this is actually known as the Black Series publishing line. Joining me again today is Cardboard Colin, friend and co-host on the Nerdy Nostalgia Presents podcast. He's the biggest Star Wars fan I know, with a crazy selection of Black Series, Hot Toys and Kenner Classic figures amongst others. So we're both going to be taking a look at this, and thanks again to Colin for supplying the figure as well. I reckon we just get stuck in right now. So Colin, can you talk to me a little bit about this Mara Jade figure and why it is specifically that we're seeing her in this publishing line range and not in the standard Black Series? And perhaps a little bit about the artwork that we're getting to look at here as well.
Yeah, so look, Mara Jade, for anyone who read the old Extended Universe books, starting all the way back in the Thrawn trilogy, starting with the Heir to the Empire, and this particular toy is referencing the volume 2 of that trilogy, The Dark Force Rising by Timothy Zahn. So basically, in the dark days, before the prequel films, after the 80s, once Star Wars had started going quiet, in the early 90s, there wasn't much happening Star Wars stuff. And, you know, people like myself were desperate for new Star Wars content. And suddenly these books came out, and they basically launched a brand new universe, basically what they called the Extended Universe. So it came out originally in 1991. And these books basically filled the gap. They started straight after Return of the Jedi, and they told the story of what happened to our heroes next. And over the many years, all the way up until basically The Force Awakens and Disney buying Lucasfilm and basically wiping out everything that happened in these books, which that's still available in the Legends canon. But you saw all these characters grow and develop, Han and Leia getting married, having their kids, Luke becoming a Grand Jedi Master. But Mara Jade, again, was a massive fan favourite character. She was the hand of Palpatine. She basically was created as this character that would basically be like a personal assassin for Palpatine. So a little bit like an Inquisitor, which we have in the new universe, but more of a specialist. So Mara Jade worked for the Emperor, and so starts off as, you know, someone who potentially is a bit lost and is acting out as a bounty hunter. And then she basically then meets Luke. And for people that know Mara Jade, know that eventually Luke and Mara Jade fall in love, and they get married, and they have a son called Ben Skywalker. And probably the coolest thing is she had a purple lightsaber well before Mace Windu made it cool. So yeah, she's a massively important character for anyone that read those books and remembers that storylines. So that's the reason why she's in this publishing line, because basically she's from the books, and this particular box set, as I said earlier, is referencing Dark Force Rising, which is number 2 in the Timothy Zahn Thrawn trilogy, which also introduced Grand Admiral Thrawn, who we'll see a lot more of in Ahsoka. So not the best books in the world when you go back and reread them, but but you had to start somewhere. But in terms of the actual packaging on this toy, the only thing I will say is the actual packaging is based on a comic adaptation of the books. And I would say it's probably not the most exciting or dynamic picture to have on the cover. But it is definitely referencing the costume that we get with the figure, so you can sort of understand why. However, it does make me a little bit disappointed that you don't get the whole head scarf part that, you know, that's in the picture on the front. It doesn't actually come with the figure, so that's a bit of a shame. But yeah, like all of the publishing stuff, it's really nicely made. It's got all the different panels all around the box, and it's got an inside flap with a bit of a biography on the character. But yeah, probably not the most exciting of the covers in this line, but it doesn't detract from the figure, so that's good.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I was going to pick up on that as well. I don't understand why it is that they've got this really interesting concept of Mara Jade in her scarf and goggles, and then they don't follow through on that by providing that with the figure. That seems really odd to me. But I will say that from my point of view, the artwork on the inside spine more than makes up for that, because I think that artwork that clearly seems to be taken from panels of a comic is really interesting, and I think has got some fantastic images on it that really pop.
And that's the thing, because I think I'm trying to remember, very Terry Dodson type art on the side, which, I mean, he's known for drawing particularly beautiful women. So definitely, if it's not him, it's definitely that style. And so really, really nice pictures there. So I just don't think they chose the best front picture there. And also,
No.
it doesn't scream to me Mara Jade, because like for me, she's this, she's a very, very powerful Jedi. I mean, obviously at the time of this book, she was still sort of changing from being, her background from being the Emperor's hand to joining Luke and joining his new Jedi Order. But, the character is a really powerful Jedi. And the actual figure, I think, is fantastic. She looks how I imagined her. Again, not as many accessories or anything as Dr. Aphra, but she's got, a gun, she's got a lightsaber, and she just looks cool. So it's a great character. And goes really nicely with my Jaina Solo, who is also from the extended universe and being Han and Leia's daughter.
Yeah, I mean, I think the figure's fantastic to look at. I think it's a really well made figure, and it's got some really excellent redeeming qualities. I think the head sculpt and specifically the hair sculpt is excellent, and the hair itself gives me kind of almost Black Widow vibes, especially the newest Black Widow that's just been released in the Marvel Legends series. That had got 3 or 4 excellent hair sculpts, and this just kind of strikes me as the same sort of look.
I was going to ask if that was something that's taken from another toy or something, because again, this isn't based on any actress or any particular character, real person. This is obviously someone that's never been in live action before. So,
yeah, I mean, maybe someone in the comments can tell us whether this is a mold that's been taken from another figure or whether this is a brand new mold. I'm not sure. It's not something that I can place elsewhere. But I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed the Mara Jade character, and I've spoken to you about this before, but I know Mara Jade specifically from the New Republic novels, so the novels that sort of focused on the battle with the Yuuzhan Vong. So I only really knew Mara Jade as Force user and wife of Luke Skywalker. I never, it does allude to a checkered past with Mara Jade, but I wasn't aware of, the backstory with Thrawn and the Thrawn trilogy itself. So it's really interesting to hear that now. And yeah, I mean, I think she's a fantastic figure. I'm so impressed with her. I think she looks incredible, kind of just as I imagined when I was reading those novels as a kid.
Yeah, really good addition to the line. And I mean, look, I would love for Hasbro to release a whole extended universe set of figures, please. That's my wish, but I don't think we'll get it because I don't think anyone else knows them apart from us. I mean, even if they just went for the core, like Jason and Anakin, and Ben, and just built that whole class, that whole core family, and like when it all turned to the Galactic Alliance and that kind of stuff, it was just, there were so many great characters, but again, and like the whole Jedi Order, like Kip Darman and all that. But anyway, I'm sure you toy guys don't want to talk about Star Wars too much, so I'll let you get on.
No, there's nothing better than talking about Star Wars figures. Yeah, no, thanks so much for supplying this figure and for coming along and talking to us about it as well. Really, really informative. Loved it. Thanks so much, Colin.
Thank you, Chris.
So that's Mara Jade. A character that I kind of wish was still canon, but at least we've still got the stories in the Legends that we can go back and visit if we want to. And the figure itself, yeah, love it. I think it's great. Let me know in the comments if this is a figure you've got, or if this is a figure you're looking at getting. Or if Mara Jade's a character that you wish you saw more of in the Star Wars universe. Normally this is the time where I'd ask you to like the video and please consider subscribing, and obviously do all that if you can. But I think perhaps today I'd ask you to check out the Nerdy Nostalgia Presents podcast, where we talk movies, TV, toys and comics. It's loads of fun, and it can be found on any of the major podcast providers, including Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, etc. And why not check out the Nerdy Nostalgia website As well as the podcast, you'll find all of Cardboard Colin's artwork, and if you're lucky, you might see him at a con near you. Thanks a lot for joining us today. Everyone take care. Bye bye.